Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hello everyone, B1B Flyer here, and today I'm going to show you how to reshape the plastic miniatures that are in the new box sets. So, let's say you get your new box set and you got a miniature where the antenna looks like the locust here, with it's just bent and didn't come out the way you wanted it to, or it just got packaged improperly or whatever. I've taken the arms off of this one too, so I don't think this was going to look like, but I'm going to show you how to fix that without really any hassle. And in addition to that, I'm going to show you how to debase some of the miniatures off of their plastic bases, like so, in order to put them in the direction you want, because this one, for instance, the Battlemaster shows up, it's kind of on a split, and a lot of people might not like that, so I'll show you how to do that as well. You're going to need a few things to do this. So since we're going to use hot water, you'll need a microwave safe container. I'm going to use a Pyrex glass here, but you can use a coffee mug or whatever you want. Something that's safe, put in the microwave and easy to handle. And then a surface for you to cut on. This is for taking the feet off. That's always going to be helpful. I'm just going to use some spare cork, but if you have a cutting board or a self-healing mat or anything like that, it's fine. Something to take the miniature in and out of the water with. It's not your fingers, since it's going to be close to boiling. And then some sharp hobby blade. I'm going to use a straight razor blade for taking the bases off, but you can also use a normal hobby knife. Alright, so I've heated my water in the microwave, basically just to boiling there, and I brought it over. The way the plastic works is it has a memory, so when it was made, it should have been a straight cast. So most likely, if you have this sort of instance, all you're gonna have to do is dip it in the water and it'll straighten out itself. So I'm gonna take it with my tweezers. I'm gonna put the part of the miniature in the water, and almost instantly, it's gone back to the shape that I want. So, and with this, you can also, if you wanted to maybe add a bend to it, or if you want to reshape something or whatever, you can change it, tweak it. It also helps to have a bowl of cold water, or you could do it next to a tap with cold water, and that'll set it much more quickly, because right now we're just waiting for it to cool because it's temperature reactive. So keep that in mind though, that if you do something like, for instance, reshaping, so I can take this commando, and let's say I want to move his arm. I'm going to put him in the water, give him 15-20 seconds. It doesn't take very long for it to get pretty hot. If you can also try to just warm up the area that you want to deal with, that's probably better too, but I'm being somewhat haphazard with this right now. But I'm going to maybe just bring this up and make him look like he's putting his arm on his head there for some reason. I don't know why you would do this particularly, but if you wanted to, you could. But then if I were to dip this in cold water, it would set much more quickly versus me having to hold it right now. But that's the other benefit to this too, is you could, if you're trying to shape multiple parts, or if you aren't quite sure if that's how you want it to be, if you're trying to make it part of a diorama or something like that, there's a lot of different options. Anybody that's familiar with working with resin miniatures would be cognizant of the fact that the hot water trick is pretty darn useful. So as you can see now, it's mostly wanting to hold, but it's still kind of flexing back. And at some point it'll get cold enough to where it won't move anymore, and it'll hold that shape. But because it is going to be heat reactive, let's say I put my miniatures in my car and it's a hot summer day, and wonder, when I come back, why it's straightened out again, is that is the downside to temperature reactive type of materials. So, it's good that its base shape is based on its cast, so it's going to want to try to go to that shape. But if you do any modding work or anything like that involving heat bending, it has the potential. Not that you should leave your miniatures in a hot vehicle, I'm just saying that just don't be surprised if that were to happen. So again, if I want to undo that, dip it in the water. And now it's back to basically where I started. So it's good. It's real forgiving. You can do it a bunch of times. Let me caution you this, since it's my job to mess around with these and tell you all what to look out for. I was messing with this Shadowhawk, this poor Shadowhawk. I've already messed up the missile launcher, had to fix that. But the barrel here, I was kind of messing around with trying to bend it and see what the flexibility of this plastic was. And I ended up breaking some of the plastic right in this joint. It's not going to snap off, but it's given me enough of a concern now to where I'm going to need to put some either glue in there, or potentially have to cut it and then pin it and and do all that. I think it'll be fine if I just put some glue. It's fairly resilient plastic, and it's, you know, it's not going to get, I mean, even if you drop it, these things are, you know, they're not like metal. They're not going to just snap off. So that is a plus to using the plastic. But just something to be cautious about if you're trying to bend things without heating them up. You can stress and or break the plastic. It is possible. They're not you know, they're not just rubber bandy type of material. So let's talk about taking miniatures off of the bases. So these are all made with a plastic hex base, and then they are attached, just so you know what you're getting into, with posts that are molded onto the black plastic. This is a much harder plastic than the miniatures themselves. This stuff is not going to react with the heat. So there's a black or a post in each foot on all these miniatures. So if you cut around the foot, you're going to have to go through this harder plastic at some point. So I'm going to show you how to do that as with the least amount of hassle as possible. So this is where you'll need the cutting board or a surface to kind of get yourself a good area to cut without having to do it in your hand and potentially get yourself injured. Always be careful with hobby blades and cut away from yourself, and don't try to hold something and cut it. I've done that in a couple of my videos, and obviously, you know, don't mimic me in regards to that, but also want everybody to be safe when they're trying to do this. So I'm just soaking the feet in the water here just to get them, make the plastic a little more pliable on the miniature side of it. And then now what I'm going to try to do is, I don't like to use the razor blades just because it's a straight blade, is I'm going to put the base side down here. I'm trying to get it so you can see, and I'm going to try to cut as flush to the base as possible so that I'm only cutting into most of the miniature. And you can see it's going to take a little bit of the plastic off, most likely. You know, that probably wasn't the best, but you know, it's going to be difficult to get it all in one shot, and perhaps maybe go around it, try to keep it as flush, loosen up that initial plastic, and then get through the post. Sure enough, that was a better one. So there you go. But yeah, make sure you got something to cut on. Try to cut, you know, down away from yourself, and try not to cut into anything that involves your skin. All right, so off camera, I went around to the base where I'd kind of missed a little of the foot, and just took my razor blade and went kind of in a circular motion, like so, around that post to take the last bit of material, and then super glued it back onto the foot. And honestly, it's very hard to notice. So if you make a mistake like I did, no worries, you can fix it. So these hex bases are actually pretty decent quality. If you want to put something else on them, that's great. Obviously, you know, I'm taking these off because I like to put metal on my plastic miniatures, and of course, if they're not lined up, then you want to maybe reposition them or whatever. But that's how you can go about doing that. And then one quick note on anybody else that might want to know about modding these. The catapult, for instance, I was looking at this, and they were kind of Mickey Mouse-eared a little bit, looking a little weird. I went to go and take them out, and the glue that they use is actually really, really strong. So these are assembled really well as far as adhesive is concerned. I got one that had the post come out okay, so that'll go back in, basically slotted to the way it was, and this one kind of fell apart, so I'm going to end up having to pin that when I put it back in. So that's another, just another little something to be aware of, because when I got the catapult initially, both the missile launchers were kind of pointed inward, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just bend these with the hot water, or I'll just try to take them out and maybe reposition them or something like that. So something else to keep in mind with these new miniatures. So please like us on Facebook, post your comments or questions down below, give us a subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Shutdown sequence initiated.